Senator Mitch McConnell is now backing away from demanding the corporations stay out of politics. As you all know, he had that reaction following some of these companies speaking out against Georgia's voter suppression law, and he's not so happy about it. So he had initially released a statement saying that these companies really have no business in politics unless they fund me. Well, it turns out he's now backing off from that messaging, saying, quote, I didn't say that very artfully yesterday. They're certainly entitled to be involved in politics. They are. My principal complaint is they didn't read the darn bill. So that is a talking point, Cenk, that I'm sure you've come across, our audience has come across, this talking point about how Georgia actually did not restrict voting. They expanded voting because now there needs to be a minimum of one ballot drop-off box in every county. And previously, these lawmakers didn't really care too much about the rural parts of the state because they didn't have ballot drop-off boxes in some cases. So under this law, they will ensure that rural parts of the state that maybe didn't have drop-off boxes previously will now have at minimum one drop-off box. But also understand that the law will limit the number of drop-off boxes in the most populous parts of the state. And the most populous parts of the state also, of course, happen to be the most diverse and happen to have the larger percentage of African-American voters. So don't buy the lies and deceptions that these Republicans are trying to put out there. It's a false narrative. But at the same time, what he's upset about is that Republicans are being called out on the fact that they're so unpopular that the only thing they can do is rig elections in their favor. That's all they do.
Yeah, so the rural point is actually hilarious because what there's, you know what kind of voters are rural voters in Georgia? Generally speaking, white, okay? And so they're saying, yeah, no, look, I hear what you're saying. We limited voting in black areas, but on the other hand, we increased voting in white areas. No, that's not really an on the other hand. Okay, that's saying I'm being purposely racist. And this is definitely a Jim Crow law. Now, am I against expanding voting opportunities in white areas? Absolutely not. I love that. They should expand voting opportunities in every area, including rural areas, deeply white areas, deeply Republican areas. Everybody should vote, okay? We're principled on that. McConnell and the Georgia Republicans go, yeah, no, we're expanding voting. For white people, the black people though, hell no. And then Mitch McConnell said, oh, you're playing the race card. No, suppressing black voters is playing the race card. Okay, so let's be clear about that. Now, secondly, I love this story because now you know who the boss is. So Mitch McConnell comes out and he looks like a tough guy and he's the leader of the Republicans. And remember that he did this once before, he did it with Trump. He voted in favor of acquitting him in the second impeachment. Then he turned around and said, oh, but Trump did this thing that was so wrong during the Capitol riots, it's unacceptable. And within a week, he realized that, oh no, all my voters love that. And they love Trump, and they're beginning to hate me. So he backpedal. He said, yeah, I mean, no, Trump's good. I like Trump. Trump's still the leader. I like him. Okay, all right, I get it, Turtle. You're putting your head back into your shell. So now this is an even bigger deal because McConnell built his career on corporations. So I just want to give you the quote again from yesterday. He said, I found it completely discouraging to find a bunch of corporate CEOs getting in the middle of politics. That's hilarious. Mitch McConnell has been the #1 plaintiff in cases where they argue to keep corporate money in politics. He is patient zero. Worse than Pelosi, worse than Schumer, worse than every other Republican. The most corrupt man in America who brought more corporate money into politics than anything else, anyone else in the country. That's literal, right? And he's like, heaven forfend. It turns out there's gambling in this establishment. Oh, really? Okay. So
what I love though,
hypocrisy is there. But Anna, just to finish the thought real quick, and I want to make one other point that's hilarious. But like now you know, when he backpedals, that means he's not in charge. He's just a waiter. He's a butler. He's a servant. Okay, the corporate CEOs are in charge, and they kind of twisted his ear there, and they were like, "Hey, Mitch, get back out there and tell him we're in charge." And he's like, "Oh, yes, sir." Such a scared, weak man. All these bullies, paper tigers.
Exactly, and I wanted to read the previous threat because he did issue a threat to corporations, which is hilarious because corporations own him, right? He created this monster. He had fought for money in politics and legalized bribery all the way back to the 1970s when he was apparently some sort of professor. I mean, I can't imagine wasting money on taking that class. But he advocated for infusing, more money more money in politics decades and decades ago. So he built this Frankenstein, and he said in response to some of these companies that spoke out against that law. And again, I want to repeat this. It's just empty talk, right? With the exception of the MLB, it's empty talk. It's just, all right. We want consumers off our back, so let's release a statement. And that's what got Mitch McConnell so up in arms. And so he says, he said that he basically said that there would be serious consequences if they become a vehicle for far left mobs to hijack our country. So that was his previous statement, and now he's like, I think, yeah, maybe that was inartful. Maybe that was inartful. It's not so bad because what are you gonna do, Mitch McConnell? Like, you're right, Cenk. I mean, who owns who? All right, you don't like these companies. These companies aren't gonna fund your campaign. These companies are not gonna fund, people who are aligned with you. And so, you're not the boss. You're not like this. It's what I tell Charlie every once in a while, my dog, when he thinks that he owns me. I'm like, no, you don't own me. I own you. You have to listen to me. And that's exactly what these corporations are saying to Mitch McConnell right now. That's why he's backing off.
Yeah, and so guys, that's not a small issue. That's one of the largest issues in politics. So conservatives misunderstand where the seat of power is. They keep saying the government is too big and the government is making the poor corporations bribe them. No, you're totally misunderstanding power. It comes from money, and the corporations are now buying the politicians. And so whatever bad things that the government is doing, it's because corporations told them to do it. They own these politicians, corporate Republicans, and by the way, corporate Democrats, and definitely people like Joe Manchin. They own them lock, stock, and barrel. So they're the people in charge. So if you're worried about accumulated power, you're right. If you think the source of that power is the government, you are wrong. The source of that power today in this version of America are corporations that bought our government and now completely own it. So one more thing here. Mitch McConnell says it was inartful. That's a funny term, isn't it? Not I was wrong, I'm the corporate Mitch. No, it was inartful. It's a way of saying this is all art. You're watching a theater, a sitcom, right? And I'm an actor. So I flubbed my line. What I meant to say is corporations are beloved creatures that are above human beings, and I hold them up on a pedestal. I wish they would, not do this one slight thing, but I am so sorry for ever bringing it up. And so I forgot my line. I swear I won't do it again. I'll read all my lines in the trailer. I'll get them from the think tanks that will give me ideas, which are talking points, and then I will regurgitate them like the Mitch that I am and the actor that I am. Okay, so that's American politics.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.